Hello and welcome to Writer's Chat. This is episode 3, How to Not Be Lonely When You Work Alone. My name is Andrea R. Freeman and I'm with Caroline Topperman. So I really like this topic, Caroline, because this is something that you were thinking of that we should talk about that I think is something that we don't really, maybe hear too many people discussing. Because I know I personally like both settings. I like group work and then I like to be off on my own and do my own thing. But sometimes when we are so wrapped up in our projects, we just become so tunnel vision that we forget to ask for help, or we forget to just, like you said, come up for air and, step away from, is like right in our face. And when we step outside of that, we get more answers, we get more clarity in our work. Maybe characters develop better, or, plot thickens, no pun intended.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what are your thoughts on this? Like, where do you want to?
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely. I find that, I have that thing in me too, where I like to be by myself. I like to think, I like to do all of that. But the thing is that sometimes it does get lonely. And I think we don't even always realize when we feel lonely, because we're so, you get so into your own head that you don't realize that there's a whole world out there. But I think and I think that's especially with COVID in the last few years of us being, just everything was on Zoom. So it was extra hard to find people, because before you could just go sit in a coffee shop or go sit somewhere and there were people. So you were around people. But I think now it's just that idea about having to actually go out there and meet people, which it is hard, but I think it's really important to do, because for one, I mean, you're gonna learn new things. That's the biggest part, I think, is that you're gonna really learn new things. You're gonna learn new techniques. Maybe there's something new out there for writers that you don't even know about. I see this all the time when I talk to people. I had some potential clients that I was talking to yesterday for editing and book coaching, and they were like, I don't even know where to start with all of this. But the fact is that if you do join some, even social media groups, you will meet people there, and you'll meet like-minded people, and you'll see how much you learn.
Yeah. I was just going to say too, we talk about this all the time, how we met. We were in a women's publishing summit that was online. I mean, it happened before COVID, but there's still that stuff that goes on now. And, we met through there, and I'm learning things from you, and you're learning things from me. And it's just, and what we're doing here is we're helping all of you guys. We're learning with you, and then we have each other. So it is helpful if you can, find, whether it's in person or something online, that, you can talk to people and even bounce ideas off of. And, sometimes they may have the same fears or the same, insecurities that you may have. Like we were talking about imposter syndrome, last episode, and how we all experience that. And even something like that, when you are in these groups, you find that you're sharing, the same fears and the same concerns about things.
And even, here's the thing, it's even if you don't want to participate, because I don't participate all the time. But even if you don't participate, you're still part of the group. So we can talk about Facebook. There's some really great writing groups out there on Facebook, and you don't have to participate. That's the best part. You can just read people's comments. But when you're reading people's questions and you're reading people's answers to a certain post, that's a great way not to feel lonely, because it actually shows you that there's people out there. And there's a group that I participate in, or I don't participate in. I've only ever asked 1 or 2 questions. I've only given advice here and there a little bit, but somebody was posting about an event where you could query agents online. I thought, oh, okay, great. Looked it up, and wound up finding a really great agent that has requested my full manuscript. So and it was just because of this group that I actually don't participate in, but it shows me that there's other people in the world. So I don't feel so alone and on my own. And because I think that's what happens too when you're working on your own, you sometimes feel like you're the only one doing this and only one having the struggle. But what I can see is that there's so many people having the exact same struggle I am. They're going through the exact same thing. So even if I never wind up talking to them, at least I feel like I know they exist.
Yeah. Yeah. There's somebody there. And that's like something too, like, so yeah, if you find the right group on Facebook, or there's just individuals that you follow on Instagram that, maybe they're kind of like at the same pace as you are, whatever it is that you're doing. They could also be like accountability partners or something that can help you, like, you're working on different projects, but like, you're both there for that common goal of getting it done. And isn't that something that you were doing too? Like I know you were doing, I don't know if you're still doing it. Like, do you meet up, like, I think it was once a month or something, like everyone's writing in the same space or something?
I did. Yeah, I don't love that personally. Like, I realized that isn't for me, but I mean, it was a good experience to do that.
Yeah.
But I think this is like, you can hate social media, you can love social media, a whole different topic, but this is the beauty of social media, are these kinds of groups, and you can find them. So for me, I do have a couple of groups right now that I am a part of that, somebody sometimes will post like, hey, what are your goals for the month, for the week or something? And, people will answer or not, and that's great. And so that actually helps quite a bit too. But yeah, I think that's really that's the beauty of it. And that's like a great way to use it, especially if you're not comfortable yet going out and meeting people in person.
Yeah. And we were talking about that too, like other, like past conversations, like anything else, there's good and bad things of, on certain levels of things. And when it comes to social media, yes, it can be annoying. It could be frustrating, especially when you talked about promoting. But when it comes to, like, following people that you like, or if it's groups or individuals, it does add value. It gives you that, again, that sense that you really are not alone in this. So I do follow a couple of groups, but some of them too, like, it gets overwhelming. It does, because there's so many people, like, sharing where they're up to, and they have questions. And then sometimes if there's these like challenge groups that you're in, or the group becomes like this challenge thing, it like, you're all in it in the beginning because you're like, oh, this is fun, and yeah, I'm going to do it. But then it gets, overwhelming. But out of the groups that I'm in, I do like, and we were talking about this on our prep call, but I'm in this group called the Writer's Block. And I really love it because it almost like merges my two worlds, like me being an author and then me being an angel guidance coach, like the metaphysical take on things. This woman, Emily, who wrote the book, The Meaningful Method, and this is her Facebook group, the Writer's Block. She combines like metaphysical practices in helping you, or spiritual practices to help you write your book. Right. And all that happens, all the stages, if people know what chakras are, it's another topic, but like taking the chakras and taking a book and then plugging in all the steps of a book. So this is something that we're going to touch on later on. We'll talk to you more about it, but I like being in this group because it's kind of like two of my worlds coming together, and it's a refreshing approach to writing your book. Because sometimes it seems like a lot of these groups are the same, or they can feel very like gimmicky or spammy, or, just like, hey, write your book in like 10 days and get this many figures of money from it. Like, it's just like, there's stages to all that. But I like, again, like doing something that, you've been doing for so long, and then looking at it at somebody else's perspective on how they can coach you or, get you to understand.
And I would tell people too that when you're looking for these groups, really be honest with where you're at in your writing and what you're looking for. Because what happened for me is I was in a few groups where people, I think, it felt like they wanted to talk more about this possibility of one day writing something than actually getting down to writing.
Yeah.
And I was actively writing, so I wasn't all that interested. Plus, I write creative nonfiction mostly, so I'm really looking for that kind of group too, where because it's a set of things that I'm thinking about when I'm writing, and I want people who I can relate to. So it's not just about jumping into any old group or following anybody. Like I realized pretty quickly, I cannot write while we're all online together. The other thing for me that is one of my new pet peeves, which was, never had before I started doing everything over Zoom, was that when I'm talking to you and I'm doing a group like this, I don't want to see you multitasking with 10 different other things that you're doing. I find that just kind of weirdly rude and distracting and all that. So, but those are things I learned about myself. So now I know what I'm looking for. So it's, I would tell people too, like, take a few minutes to really think about what kind of a writer you are and how you write best. Because for me, I actually do write best when I'm on my own, I'm doing my own thing, I have my background noise. It's what I do. But I use these groups more just to keep me energized and to keep me going creatively, and to when I, or if I have some questions, if I'm working on something more technical with either publishing or anything like that, that's when I turn to the groups, because that's where I need the help. I have an editor that I work with, so that's okay. I'm not looking for that. But you might be looking for an editor. Great, those groups are fantastic. There's always people floating around who are offering their services. Or you might be looking for book covered book design, or you might be looking for beta readers. And there, very often in groups like that, people will exchange work, and then right there you may have just created your own mini group. In one of the groups, somebody was saying that they were looking for people to share pitches with. So we would edit each other, give feedback on pitching for articles. And I joined that group, and I actually have a great support system now of people that are all weirdly all over the world. But every week, everybody sends in their pitches if they have them, and we just go over each other's pitches. So.
Yeah, it's amazing, like, what's out there. Like, if you really, like, especially too, like because when you mentioned, like, do your research, in a sense, do your homework on like what groups there are. It's just like too, when you're going to submit, if you're going like the traditional route, what is an agent, what is a publisher are looking for in you? So you don't want to just like send anything. You have to send like the things that they're looking for. So it's even like too with these groups, like you just want to throw yourself into something that is a stage behind you, or even two ahead, because if it's two ahead, you want to pressure yourself. And obviously if it's too far back, you're going to be like, I am like going to pull my hair out here. This is like, I've done that already. So I definitely agree. Like, make sure you do your research and what feels right for you. And then also too, like, I just, like, I'm the same thing. Like, I love to work on my own, but it's nice to know, like, the industry is always changing, especially like what you're choosing, how you're doing your book. Is it just an e-reader? Is it, hardcover only, whatever. So it's good to like be in these groups too, to stay in the loop and know like what's working, what's not working, especially with everything that's going on in the world today. Like, what's a different cost-effective way, to print, all those things. Or even like, you want to do like beta reader groups, like even getting involved in that, because again, when you're so into your work, you just think like your work's the shit, but it needs to like go beyond your family looking at it. So you just want to like,
No, absolutely. I mean, that's exactly where you're going to find people who will help you with that and give you answers to that. So you don't feel so alone. Right. It all comes down to that you're realizing that there's so many people out there who have the same questions and that can help you answer them.
I mean, the other thing that comes to mind too, like maybe you want to start your own group. I mean, maybe there's nothing out there that's satisfying, what you're looking for in a group. So like maybe you and a few people that are looking for something similar, or you're all going to add something different to your own group that, why not?
Yeah,
So
and keep an open mind too, because you never know where you might find that. I was living in a town for a while where it was a small town. I didn't know anybody. It was really hard to meet people. And I went to one of those outdoor markets and I met another writer and we were able to connect and she introduced me to other people. So, I would say don't be afraid to necessarily go to a cafe and just sit, even if you're by yourself, because you never know who you might not meet there. I was sitting in a cafe once and I had this book about publishing and somebody actually asked me, is that book any good? And, turns out she's a writer. She's like looking to get published and all that. So yeah, I would absolutely don't be afraid to go outside of your own space, especially if you're starting to feel lonely, and you're starting, because it's just about finding people. And even if they're not your people, and at the end of the day, it still probably was good to meet them, because now you know what you're looking for.
Yes. I was going to say too, like even go to like your local library or Barnes and Noble or whatever bookstores by you. I mean, they have like, book events and, maybe sometimes they have like, what do you call it? Like maybe they have like, not just like the authors coming to discuss their book and reading it, but sometimes they have like workshops, possibly in the Barnes and Noble by you or local libraries and such, or, local bookstores, because again, like you get to meet, even if it's a different genre than you're still going through the things that it's all in our heads, as we're trying to like figure out our stories and the mediums in which we're going to use them.
Yeah. So great. So, don't be afraid to go find your people. That's what it is. And if you have any questions about that, or you're looking for any specific groups, feel free to leave us a comment below. Yes. Or to find Andrea at Soul to Page on Instagram. She answers her questions always. Or you can hit me up at Style on the Side. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Please check in with our other videos and like and follow us.
Yes, definitely. Thanks, everyone.